What's up, everybody? We are back here with another video. Now, I had to do an extra little intro here, so this isn't the actual intro of the video. I just wanted to correct a couple things and mention a couple things before we get into it. First of all, when I'm talking about feeders in this video, I'm talking about the barrel feeders with the fermented sour mash. That's what you're going to need to use to attract these pigs. And also, one other thing I wanted to mention is because this is such an early guide, there's definitely a possibility that I missed some stuff in it. So don't take this as a perfect guide. Take this as an early guide, something that you guys can go to on day one of this release and be able to get a good idea of what you should do to grind on Scotland for the brand new Great One Boar. Now, with that being said, let's dive into the actual video. What's up, everybody? We are back here on the Hunter Called Wild, and it is release day for the Great One Wild Boar. And you know what that means? It's guide time. Now, you guys probably know, normally I wait until I get a great one of whatever the new great one is before I actually make a video about a guide for it. However, I decided today that I would do it a little bit different this time because, in general, the info that I'll know then and now is relatively the same, with the one difference being that I'll actually got one normally. But I decided that since most of you are probably looking for a guide on day one, I'd make one anyway. And honestly, I think I have found the most fun and effective way to hunt for the Great One Boar. And that is going to be with feeders. As you can see, we have a lot of boar over there at this feeder. In fact, it's absolutely packed. I believe we have 2 different groups of boar here currently. And it's a very effective way to hunt them, especially on Scotland, because the only places that wild boar can be is this river and below. So if you're hunting this river and below, I mean, that's where all the boar are going to be. Now, I know some of you want a drink zone guide, most likely, because not everybody wants to use the feeder. So we're going to talk about drink zones first. We're going to pop it up on screen right now. These are all the locations that you will have to search if you want to be finding all of your drink zones for wild boar. From people that I've talked to, it seems like you usually don't have too much more than about 20 to 25 zones. And in fact, we'll also pop up on screen all of my boar zones that I've found. This is the places that I personally have zones. However, always generalize because everybody's zones are positioned slightly different, which is why I would recommend using this map when searching for your zones instead, because everybody's zones are a little bit different, but they'll be in the same general areas. And to grind for the Great One Boar, you're going to need to start by finding your drink zones, even if you choose to go with the feeder route, because you want to know where all of your zones are positioned, because that's going to determine where you put your feeders. Because of the fact that an animal has to go within 500 meters of the feeder to be attracted to it, you want to make sure you're positioning your feeders near the drink zones enough to where they can actually be attracted to the feeders, and you want to try and get multiple zones with one go. So, for example, we're going to take a look at my actual map now. I have positioned these feeders in a way where it'll attract multiple zones. We have 1, we have 2, we have 3, and we have 4 different boar zones. And all of those boar would have to cross within this area in order to get to their drink zones. So what you would do is, once you found all your drink zones, you position a feeder in a general area that's going to be close to multiple zones that you're trying to hunt. And then you want to switch it to drink time. Switch it to drink time, hunt around a little bit, and then switch it into feeding time. And that is going to be when you will see the magic happen, because putting it in drink time gets them within that 500 meter radius of the feeder. And then, of course, switching it to feeding time makes them actually go to the feeder. So that is how you're going to get them attracted. And like I was saying, you want to find all your drink zones first and then position your feeders near those drink zones that you have found. But obviously, you want to put your feeders out in much more open and effective hunting areas. This is, to be honest, probably my worst positioned zone, and it's strictly for the fact that it was the only area I could go to that would get this close enough to multiple different groups of pigs. This zone right here is a much better example of a super wide open area and what you can use these feeders for on your grind to get a much more effective grind. As you can see, these groups are now in a much better spot. This actually is 2 different groups. I recently shot the males, so they haven't respawned yet. But what I did was I placed it in an area where it's within range of both of these drink zones right here. And an even better example is this one right here. It's only attracting, I think, these 2 zones, but it took them out of the worst possible places that you could possibly have your drink zones on this grind. So I recommend the feeders very strongly because they do seem to be a whole lot more effective than just using normal drink zones on Scotland due to the poor location of a lot of these zones on this river. And even these ones right here, like a lot of these drink zones that you get on this smaller river, most of the pigs are going to be behind trees, they're going to be behind rocks, and it's really difficult to hunt them. So I put my feeders on the road so they're in a more wide open area. So pretty much to sum it up, if you're going to hunt drink zones, you would just hunt it how you would anytime. You find your drink zones, you set up a tent and stand about 200 to 220 meters away, and you just get to hunting. But if you're wanting to use feeders, the method I just recommended is probably going to be your most effective means of doing so. Now, keep in mind, we are like literally on day one of the release. The only experience I have is from early access. So I've only spent a few days messing around with the pigs, and I've only hunted them really for like one day. So it is pretty early, and there may be some information that changes as time goes on. And once we actually finish a grind or two, I might make a revamped guide. So take this as more of like a day one guide. It's not going to be perfect, but it should get you started. Now, what I'm going to be doing on this grind is primarily just leaving level 1s for herd management. This is going to be the herd management section of the video, so for those of you that want to do herd management, continue watching. If you're not really interested in HM, well, I mean, you can get out and hunt right now because we pretty much covered everything that would be needed for just hunting them normally. But if you're planning to herd manage, what I've been doing is only leaving level 1s because it seems like level 2s are insanely common for the wild boar. So I've just been leaving the level 1s. Now, as I hunt more, I might end up changing that strategy to like level 1s and also small weight estimate 2s. But for now, I am just going to be leaving the level 1s until I figure out if that's going to be a good method or not. From what I've seen, there is very few solos, so you shouldn't have to worry about solo males too much. If you don't want to herd manage them, you definitely don't have to. I've been kind of avoiding them for the most part. You know, aside from the stuff that we have already talked about in this video, there is a couple other things that we definitely need to cover if you're new to herd management, new to grinding. You want to make sure that you leave a couple of zones with no claiming tent and just ATV over there. The reason for that is because it takes up more time and it allows you to give the animals more time to respawn. So a couple of zones towards the end, I always make sure that there's no claiming tent. So I actually have to ATV over there and claim them, taking up a little bit more time, and therefore giving the first few zones that you visit a bit more time to respawn their males. And I've found that if you're having trouble getting respawns, that's usually the best way to handle it. Just take a little bit more time on those runs. Make sure you're killing at least 10 animals per run, and you should be good. Now, obviously, I don't know how viable that's going to be in the end game because it seems like the population of boar is very low here on Scotland. So it may get to a point where you're going to have to kill a little bit less than 10, and that might make some issues with respawns. Obviously, we are so early into grinding that it's really hard to say. But like I said, I wanted to get this guide out early as like a first day guide, and we definitely will have a more improved one over time. So be on the lookout for that in the coming weeks and months. Last but not least, we will talk about the blinds real quickly, as well as time resets, because you will be using them quite a bit. The feed time for the boar is 3 to 6, so you really only get like 1 hour of daylight. And I always recommend hunting the last hour of a time anyway, just because it makes it more like reliable in terms of being at the zones. Typically, if you're early in the time, they're less consistent, so you want to be in that last hour when you're actually like doing your grind. Obviously, if you're still finding drink zones and stuff, you can set it to earlier because you're going to be doing a lot of walking. But yeah, I tend to only hunt the last hour of the time when I'm actually like, you know, grinding on the zones like this. And if a group is not at their zone, you can come over here and just reset the time. And it should kind of like reset the zone, essentially. Reset that group of animals. And sometimes if they're not there and you reset the time, they will end up showing up. Now, obviously, these guys were already here, but you can see there's more of them now. So yeah, it's a nice little trick that you can use if you want to get more animals to show up to your zone when they're being stubborn like this. Anyway, guys, I think that's really all there is to cover, considering this is, you know, like I said, super early into this update, super early into the grind, and I'm sure we'll learn more later where I'll have a more like concise, put together, like more to the point guide. But for now, this is what you guys got. Hopefully it helps. Hopefully it'll give you guys enough information to start your grind up. I appreciate you all. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. as well as leaving a comment down below and letting me know if you've decided to go to Scotland for your grind. And if you have, how's it going? Hopefully it's going good. And I should have not walked forward because the tent appeared right on top of where they were and got destroyed by beavers. Thanks, beavers. Good job. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you later. Peace.